The Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Andrzej Duda, President of the Republic of Poland. I request protocol to escort His Excellency. On behalf of the General Assembly, I have the honor to welcome to the United Nations His Excellency Andrzej Duda, President of the Republic of Poland, and invite him to address the Assembly.
Wielce Szanowna
Most distinguished Madam President, distinguished Mr. President, Excellencies, esteemed delegates. I congratulate Ms. Maria Fernanda Espinosa Gracias, the President of the 73rd session of the UN General Assembly, on her election to this honorable function. I wish to assure you, Madam President, about Poland's full support for the measures you will take. At the same time, I wish to express my gratitude to Mr. Mirosław Lajczak for his active membership over the 72nd session of the United Nations General Assembly. Ladies and gentlemen, this year, Poles are celebrating the centenary of regaining independence. In 1918, after 123 years of bondage, Poland returned to the map of Europe and the world. The restoration of an independent, free, and sovereign state became a reality, mainly due to three factors: the desire of the Polish nation to have its own state, the heroic sacrifice of the battling soldiers, and the determination of courageous leaders who convinced politicians across the world that without a restored Poland, Europe would not be just and safe. Both then and today, the will of the nations and of the political leaders remains crucial. Both then and today, Europe will not be just and safe without a sovereign Poland. Each September, heads of state and government meet here in New York at the headquarters of the United Nations to engage in an in-depth reflection on the most crucial issues affecting our globe. Hence, it is us with whom a particular responsibility lies. It is us who are rightly expected to be courageous and active, able to rise above divisions, determined in our search for solutions to the most pressing issues of the contemporary world. Most distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our world is full of threats. We are witnessing a very dynamic development of international situation. There are reasons to be hopeful, such as a potential change in the situation on the Korean Peninsula and the ongoing de-escalation of tensions there. But there are also problems that persist and remain unresolved. In order to sort them out, we undoubtedly need the cooperation of as many countries as possible today. To make it effective, one needs, however, to meet two conditions. Firstly, we must all comply with international law, which was the main theme of the Polish presidency of the Security Council in May this year. I had the privilege of holding a high-level open debate at that time, the conclusions of which were that only cooperation among countries within the rule-based global order will provide an opportunity to resolve frozen conflicts and prevent us from the emergence of new ones, that the rule-based global order based on law requires strong institutions to enforce the international law, and no violation of the law can be justified or distorted by a whole range of twisted language definitions. Today, the map of the world is full of flashpoints. As part of the rule-based global order that we are promoting, I would like to draw your attention to one fundamental principle that will be our priority throughout the second year of Poland's membership of the Security Council of the United Nations. I'm thinking about the sovereign equality of states, as referred to in Article 2 of the United Nations Charter. If we want to be advocates of multilateralism, and the United Nations organization is, after all, its source, we must bear this principle in mind. In other words, not everyone who claims to be a proponent of multilateralism thinks of it in terms of the equality of states. One can say that there is a negative multilateralism, which boils down to the concert of powers, a division into spheres of influence, and the conviction that the fate of others can be decided upon without their participation. Europe and Poland were often victims of this kind of multilateralism, starting from the 18th century throughout the 19th century to the times of the Cold War. Multilateralism and the rule-based global order are not just for the chosen ones. The same principles must apply to all and to the same extent. Everyone has equal rights and proportional obligations. This is how I define positive multilateralism, which Poland stands for. The multilateralism of equal states and free nations, not a multilateralism of usurpation and hierarchy. We are committed to relations in which every state enjoys equal rights. This, however, does not imply a naive perception of the world, a world devoid of differences among states. What it means is that the states which have an advantage in terms of potential and power should not deprive others of their equal right to independence and subjectivity. Only with such equality ensured are we able to fully use the potential of states for the common good and according to the rule of fair play. This applies both to political and economic relations, since only if the principle of the equality of states is respected are we able to talk about the exchange of interests and enter into real alliances. However, the concept of a positive multilateralism, which Poland subscribes to, goes one step further. It claims that, wherever possible, weaker countries should be given additional opportunities to make an impact in order to make the equal rights of states more realistic. Such opportunities can encompass an additional voting power or an additional territorial representation in the decision-making bodies. To me, as President of the Republic of Poland, two areas of application of this principle are particularly close. First of all, the awaited reform of the Security Council, which we support and want to participate in, and which should include among its leading themes expanding the field of equal rights and competences of all Council members. And secondly, a reform of the European Union, returning to its origins which emerged from the concept of positive multilateralism and which today are repeatedly violated. Poland next year will organize a series of initiatives centered around the idea of sovereign equality. The aim of that effort is to win over as many supporters of our revision as possible, and I invite you, ladies and gentlemen, to participate in those debates. Secondly, it is important that multilateralism serves a certain system of values instead of being just an element of a political technology and a game of interests. Such system of values is reflected in the Charter of the United Nations. Negative multilateralism, which contravenes these values, may only result in the exacerbation of global problems. It may deteriorate the situation. On the other hand, a voluntary cooperation of states equal in their rights can bring a lasting peace to Europe and the world. Every time a temptation of a concert of powers is born, the global stability is undermined. Whoever promotes negative multilateralism contributes to the disintegration of the global order. Multilateralism is meant to be a commitment to respect for values, especially the fundamental ones, such as respect for human dignity and life. It is about values which go beyond the political order and are not politically defined, for they are the foundations of the global order in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, international relations do not serve states only. They are supposed to serve the entire humanity. Therefore, the sovereignty of a state should be fundamentally linked to responsibility for the respect of norms which are common for the good of all of us. A violation of these norms must bear consequences. wherever leaders might infringe fundamental human rights, use tortures, persecute their political opponents, or use weapons of mass destruction, the international community, including the Security Council, should respond swiftly, decisively, strongly. As a nation with a unique experience of a peaceful democratic transformation and a struggle for fundamental freedoms, Poland attaches particular importance to protection and promotion of human rights, as exemplified, among others, by my country's bid for membership in the UN Human Rights Council for the 2020-2022 term. Our potential membership in this unique body, unique for the global human rights protection system, will complement in a natural way our current membership in the Security Council in accordance with the fundamental UN triad of peace and security, human rights, and development. Most distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the UN Charter endows the organization, and especially its Security Council, with special responsibility for matters pertaining to peace and international security. As a non-permanent member of the Security Council, we deem this task to be of crucial importance. Poland actively supports all actions and initiatives aimed at preventing the use and proliferation of weapons of mass destruction and their means of delivery, as well as bringing the perpetrators using such weapons to justice. I wish to announce that Poland intends to return to an active participation in the UN peacekeeping missions. We have submitted a formal application to the Secretariat in this regard and are looking forward to its positive evaluation. Given our experience in this field extending over many years, we are convinced that it will positively contribute to the peaceful resolution of conflicts. Poland is involved in the process of stabilization and building of lasting security on the Korean Peninsula, not only now, in its capacity as non-permanent member of the UN Security Council, but also as a member for dozens of years of the Neutral Nations Supervisory Commission in North Korea. I'm convinced that those long-term experience within the Commission could be potentially applied while establishing permanent foundations for peace and stability on the Korean Peninsula. Ladies and gentlemen, given its extensive experience accumulated during the period of political transformation, Poland stands ready to get actively engaged in the international peace rebuilding and consolidation programs in the Middle East, in all the places where, after the end of conflicts, it is necessary to restore stability and provide development opportunities. At the same time, Poland regards it as its duty to draw the attention of the international community to the sources of threat to world peace resulting from frozen conflicts, occupation, and shifting of borders by force, which is happening in Eastern Europe. The international community must not allow a return to business as usual, and the actions of the aggressors should be confronted with a relevant response. Ladies and gentlemen, this September, Poland will have an honor to host the 24th session of the Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, COP24, in the city of Katowice. The primary goal of that meeting is to finalize works on the provisions implementing the Paris Agreement. A complete and effective implementation of the Paris Agreement is inextricably connected with the attainment of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Therefore, the global climate action should bring together the economic, social, and environmental dimensions, while at the same time be conducive to stopping the global warming and eradicating the most serious problems of the modern world. The implementation package, planned to be adopted in Katowice, provides an essential basis for action to be taken by state entities and NGOs, including international financial institutions, the private sector, local authorities, and civil society organizations. Only provisions applicable in the long term and accepted by all actors are able to guarantee transparency, legal security, and sustainability of rules, which is indispensable for the implementation of the adopted obligations and for the strengthening of global ambitions. COP24 will be launched with the Leaders' Summit, which is scheduled for December the 3rd and 4th and offers an excellent opportunity to express our common and responsible political will. It will also send a clear message to the world that the efforts we make are aimed at securing a safe future for all. Once again, I wish to invite you, ladies and gentlemen, to attend the Katowice summit and ensure a high turnout for the event. Most distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the centenary of Poland regaining independence makes us reflect on the fate of the world, Europe, and on my country's difficult road to freedom and independence. At the same time, it is a reason to look into the future and an inspiration to sensibly shape our common international reality based on historical experiences, values, and aspirations. I encourage all member states to work even closer together on the initiatives aimed at achieving the objectives which guide the United Nations organization. Only the decisions taken jointly by political leaders are able to address challenges faced by a globalized world. Poland subscribes to the view that our common future requires a strong and effective international community which will better accommodate the needs of humanity. This, however, is going to depend mainly on us, since the United Nations organization is not an abstract entity. It is the common achievement of all of us. It is up to us how effective we will be in using it for the sake of building peace, ensuring justice and sustainable development. In other words, building a better world worthy of the 21st century for us, but first and foremost for the future generations, for our children and grandchildren. Thank you very much.
On behalf of the General Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the Republic of Poland for the statement just made. May I request representatives to remain seated while we greet the Head of State.